Amazing moments happen so much at SiriusXM, we want you to see them. SiriusXM Video lets you watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows on the SXM app. Groundbreaking interviews, amazing in-show moments, behind-the-scenes footage, live performances, all come to life in a way you only imagined before. Plus, you can create your own personalized Pandora station based on the artists you love. And hear over 100 extra channels filled with ad-free music for every mood or occasion. Get your first 6 months of our Platinum plan for only $8.33 per month, plus fees and taxes. Just call 844-711-8800 to take advantage of this amazing offer.
Still to this day, if I listen to that record, I'll feel things that I didn't feel years ago.
Hi, I'm Conan O'Brien. Hear my in-depth conversation with Nirvana as In Utero turns 30. Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend with Dave Grohl, Chris Novoselic, and producer Steve Albini. Hear encores throughout the week on Channel 34. Schedule at SXM Lithium or listen right now with the SiriusXM app. Just search Nirvana.
Imagine a long road trip where the designated DJ isn't forced to flip from station to station, avoiding commercials and trying desperately to find a signal. Where you're not forced to resort to endless rounds of the license plate game to kill time. Stop imagining and start listening to commercial-free music from nearly every genre, coast to coast. Subscribe to SiriusXM and your music stays with you, whether you hit the interstate or take the back roads. Call 844-711-8800 to activate your radio now.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, I see. There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, I see.
Did you know SiriusXM has over 100 extra channels on the SXM app filled with ad-free music made for everything you do? Mashup channels, workout channels, channels for parties, or just chilling out and more. Expertly curated for any mood, occasion, or activity. Extra channels let you discover new music and enjoy even more variety from every decade and music style you love. Plus, you can watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows with SiriusXM Video. And you can do it all along with listening in your car as part of our music and entertainment plan. Right now, we're offering SiriusXM subscription plans for as low as $6 a month, plus fees and taxes. Call 844-711-8800 to find out more about these amazing offers.
Comedy Central Radio.
Laugh USA.
Raw Dog Comedy. More exclusive comedy.
Netflix is a joke.
More than you're bargaining for, right?
Kevin Hart's laugh out loud. I'm telling you, people, we're even funnier on the radio.
More classic comedy.
Comedy greats.
More down-home comedy.
Jeff and Larry's Comedy Roundup.
Get her done. And more stuff you can't hear anywhere else.
He's so funny on SiriusXM. Comedy by women.
To hear the SiriusXM comedy channels, activate your radio now. Call 844-711-8800 or go to SiriusXM.com/go to sign up quickly.
You deserve the best. With the SiriusXM Platinum VIP plan, you can unlock the ultimate listening experience in up to 2 cars and stream anywhere with 2 app logins. Enjoy our greatest content, opportunities for live VIP experiences, and prioritized customer care. Plus, get access to over 5,000 audio and video concert recordings through nugs.net. Call 844-711-8800 and become a VIP. Offer details apply. Not available in Canada.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 018-14868.
Rolando Deportes. Bonjour. Vidi vidi vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is John of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe. According to me, the people who love the universe, and that would be you too. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Want to be mine? Want to be mine? Want to be my neighbor? Shut up! I'm always trying to bring the neighborhood together, but some people don't appreciate it when it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I gotta learn my lessons, but you don't have to learn what time it is when you follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, on 29 podcast applications all across the universe. You can find us on Google, Alexa, Spotify, Speaker Podcast, Apple Podcast, Amazon Podcast, TuneIn Podcast, Good Pods Podcast, iHeartRadio Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict, Podchaser Podcast. You can find us on Gio Savon out of London, England, as well as India and Africa, Podtail, YouTube, Hub Opera Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line, Repod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes, Podcast Wise, Podbing, Podcast Policy, Verbal Podcast. You know, there's one that kind of used to scare me, and it's called allfees.ai, but it doesn't scare me anymore. Give that some praise. Not being afraid, give that some praise. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast, streaming OTT on 4 TV platforms all over the universe. Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Really do appreciate that. Everybody has their own thoughts on why things should scare you or not, and I really do appreciate that. I want to tell you, I love doing this PSA. I do it for every show. It's called the Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced. Helping veterans and their loved ones can help you know anybody going through issues. Pick up the phone and call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give them some praise, because we all need somebody to lean on. I know I do. All fair and love and war. I also want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then he said, let there be light. Let me give that praise. Oh my goodness. Do we need light? Yes, we do. We all need light. I want to thank God for shining light all over the universe. I want to tell you about Big C Sports. A little bit different show today. Number one, I produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows. I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter in our lives. I know I can. The commercials are done up front. Most 1 hour shows, they do maybe 4 pauses, and they'll do 2 or 3 spots. Mine go up front. I just keep going and going and going. Just like I want to tell you, I also do my staff providing. I even do the storytelling. I do the play-by-play. Runners on first and third. That counts for the pitch. Curveballs. Swallowed. Hit deep. Right field. Back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friends. I love seeing the girls love the long ball, and men love to hit deep. We already have the Texas Rangers. They're in the World Series. They're waiting for the Philadelphia Phillies or the Arizona Diamondbacks, all fair and love and war. And then the show's uploaded to 29 podcast platforms all over the universe. I love that. I just really do love the universe. And then I'm telling you, it goes up to 4 TV platforms streaming: OTT, Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. And then number 10, I never missed a show. Give that some praise. I never missed a show like a robot. You know, a robot never misses a show either. And I really do appreciate that. I want to do what I always love doing. Yesterday I had a special guest calling all the way in from Africa. Give Africa some praise. Really do appreciate that, brother. His name is Patrice Mwamba. He's running as a presidential candidate for the Democratic Republic of Congo, and he actually called in to Big C Sports yesterday, and it was midnight when he called in, and he was talking about how strategic the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, is around the world. And I want to give him some praise calling in from another continent for Big C Sports Podcast. He didn't call ESPN. He didn't call CBS Sports. He didn't call Fox Sports or ABC Sports. He didn't call TNT. He called Big C. At the same time, I really do appreciate the fact that everybody all over the world follows sports. And also, he used to play for the Denver Broncos after he came out of Texas Tech. And then he ended up playing for the Kansas City Chiefs. And now he's running as a presidential candidate for the Democratic Republic of Congo. Really do appreciate him. I want to give him some praise. How did he find Big C Sports? Because I talk loud enough for people to hear me all over the world. Makes sense to him. And I hope he wins. The next president of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Patrice Mwamba. Give that some praise. I really do appreciate that. And you heard it here first on Big C Sports Podcast. I want to also do what I love to do on every show because I'm about something that's so important to me. It is reparations now, reparations forever. And I love giving reparations praise. Why do you give reparations praise, Big C? You're a sports show. I want to thank the Associated Press. Oh my God, I just had another epiphany. I want to thank the Associated Press. Janie Harm did an article on reparations and she called a sports show. It was March 29th, 2023 is when she aired the article. And she interviewed Charlton Curry of Big C Sports Podcast. She didn't interview ESPN. She didn't interview Fox Sports. She didn't even call TNT. She didn't call This Is CBS. She called Big C Sports. I asked her, how'd you get my number? She said, we have our ways. I said, what made you call me? She said, I heard you speak. And she said, I want to get your thoughts on reparations. And I said what President Abraham Lincoln said. I said, reparations now, reparations forever. And I do appreciate that because it's going to come to California, and I want to be the first sports show in the universe that announces reparations for descendants of chattel slavery. I really do appreciate that. I also want to make sure that I pay homage to the California Reparations Task Force because it's more important than who won a game. And my hope is that the NBA that started tonight, and I know they may put in racism on the basketball courts, the NBA is about 80% black men, and I wonder if those 80% black men that have a heart, mind, body, and soul for reparations, if they would go to the ownership and Adam Silver of the NBA and say, let's do something that honors our ancestry and our great-great-grandparents and our grandparents and our parents. And that's about reparations. It's not a secret. California Reparations Task Force, it was a mandate by California Governor Gavin Newsom. And a mandate doesn't mean you got to do it. It's a suggestion. And even President Biden has a suggestion in Congress as we breathe. Are you breathing? As we are breathing for reparations for descendants of chattel slavery. I do my own, and I want to give them praise. Nobody else does it the way Big C Sports does. I want to praise the California Reparations Task Force, and I met all of them, and I want to give praise to the chair, Camila Moore. She's an attorney of reparative justice. She's brilliant. I want to give her praise. Dr. Emmett C. Brown, he's the vice chair of the California Reparations Task Force. He's brilliant. I want to give him some praise. And the number one senator in the United States of America, in my opinion, is California Senator Stephen Bradford. I want to give him some praise. He's also responsible for name, image, and likeness that helps college athletes get paid. And you would think more college athletes would stand behind his push for reparations also, and that's why I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Council Member Monica Montgomery Stephanie. She's brilliant. I want to give her praise. Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I want to give him some praise. Also, Dr. Shell Grills. She's brilliant. Love giving her praise. Attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. Dr. Javon Scott Lewis. He's brilliant. Professor of California. Berkeley. I want to give him praise. And Attorney Donald K. Tamaki, part of the California Reparations Task Force. He's brilliant. I want to give him praise. Give them all some praise. Because they got to get that done. I want to thank this CNN for a proud sponsor of Big C Sports, the source with Caitlin Collins, weeknights, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, sponsoring Big C Sports. I also want to thank Double O, payout chair of the National Black Wall Street, because she sent me this order called Executive Order 13985. It's on further advancing the racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. That's the White House! And Double O said that to me. And people need to know this. I know you want to know who's going to win the game. I know you want to know who's your favorite player. You want to know who signed for a multi-million-dollar contract like Giannis just did. But President Biden, he said, by the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America. It is hereby ordered as follows. On my first day in office, I signed Executive Order 13985 on January 20, 2021, and it's for advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities throughout the federal government, which charged the federal government with advancing equity for all, including communities that have long been underserved and addressing a lot of the ills of our country. That was sent to me by Double O. Payout Committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. Really do appreciate her. Also, as we are talking reparations, Senator Marco Rubio making sure that descendants of Holocaust are getting their payments, and he and also Rick Scott, as well as other senators throughout the country, and they're in Congress as we are breathing reparations. Also, I want to think something that's so important, because not a lot of people understand that it's not just Big C, but I've been talking about this for 5 years. And now when we think about reparations, Georgetown University, which has a great college basketball program, and oftentimes when you hear about Georgetown, it's about their basketball program. But you got to understand, too, when I talk about reparations, by Emmett Milner, September 15, 2023, Georgetown University and the Jesuits that pledged nearly $1 billion, in fact, over $1 billion in reparations for just 272 descendants of chattel slavery that helped build Georgetown University. You got to give that some praise. I would have thought that more people would talk about it. And this came by Monique Trustelar Maddox, the CEO of the Descendants Truth and Reconciliation Foundation, the chair of its board of directors. And that's important because Georgetown, you got to understand this. It was built upon 272 enslaved men, women, and children that were sold from Jesuit plantations to settle Georgetown's debts in 1838. And now they're going to give reparations to the descendants of 272 people. You got to give that praise. What's wrong with other universities not stepping up to the plate? That's important. I want to make sure that that's there. I also want to give Double O some more praise because she also sent me an article on the United Nations. You know, the United Nations, I want to give the United Nations praise because what I received as we go to countdown to Human Rights Day, it says strong leadership and political will are crucial to ensure reparatory justice for people of African descent. That's the United Nations report sent to me by Double O. That was September 19, 2023. And before I get into sports, I want people to know this because you won't hear it outside of Big C Sports. September 19, 2023, it was an in-depth United Nations report that focused on reparatory justice for people of African descent, published and urges states in the United States to show strong leadership and political will in tackling the lasting consequences of enslavement, the trade in enslaved Africans, and colonialism. The report to the United Nations General Assembly by the United Nations Secretary General. It sets out a series of concrete steps for the United States to take, as well as the international community, to address the harms of slavery and reparations. You got to give that some praise. That was sent to me by Double O. And I know a lot of people may not know about that because they're so focused on who won the game. Today's show is sponsored by T-Mobile, America's largest 5G network. Give that some praise. Proud sponsors of Big C Sports. Also, PNC Private Bank. Proud sponsors of Big C Sports. I need $6 billion. And I need it in nickels and dimes. $6 billion in nickels and dimes. That's all fair and level work. Again, Google the Black Wall Street Project, National Black Wall Street Project.com. That's national. It's amazing. National Black Wall Street Project.com, and give that some praise. People are doing whatever they can to make sure we honor what President Abraham Lincoln, he said back in the day. Even President Biden is talking about reparations and in the United States Congress. You may not hear much about it because so many of the people, they're focused on what's going on in Ukraine and also what's going on in Israel and Palestine. But as I talk to a presidential candidate of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Patrice Mwanda, they having their own strife. And they're also asking for $100 billion. And you don't hear about them getting it. Why not? And if we can do what we can on our part to bring attention to it, then that's what I want to do with Big C Sports. I want to say, are you ready for some baseball? Of course you are. 2023 Major League Baseball playoffs. We have one team already in the World Series. The Texas Rangers I'm telling you, those good boys they were struggling a couple of years ago, and now they punched their ticket to the 2023 World Series. They did it Monday night by knocking out the defending champion Houston Astros in the ALCS Game 7 as Texas, the whole state of Texas, they celebrate and they get ready to host Game 1 with Bruce Bochy as a manager. Game 1 of the World Series at the end of the week. The American League champions, they will find out who they play in the Fall Classic, and it will happen tonight. And the decisive NLCS Game 7 between the Philadelphia Phillies and the Arizona Diamondbacks. That game is already underway at Citizens Bank Park. It's all fair and level war. The Diamondbacks picked up a Game 6 win on the road on Monday evening, tying the series at 3 apiece. And then Arizona, they can clinch a second ever National League pennant with another win on Tuesday, which is tonight. And the Phillies, meanwhile, they're trying to win the National League title for the second year in a row, and they're attempting to bounce back at home after dropping their first game at Citizens Bank Ballpark. The pitch, runners on first and third. They count for the pitch. Curveball, swung on, hit deep, right field, back to home run. Say hello to my little friends. Love saying the girls love the long ball, and the men love to hit deep. All fair and level war. And so I wish everyone the best of luck in baseball. I love the World Series. It's just hard to compete with NFL football. It just is. We're in the heart of the middle of the NFL football season, and the World Series numbers will not even come close to the top games of the NFL in the weekdays. That's my opinion, and on the weekends as well. So I want to flip the page again. Wish both teams well. Obviously, congratulations to the Texas Rangers. Give them some praise for getting there. They were at the abyss just a few years ago, and now they're in the World Series in 2023. Also want to wish the best to Arizona and Philadelphia, the teams that can try to get there and join them. Now, I want to bring you to football because I'm still believing there's gold in Dimder Hills. Gold in Dimder Hills, California. But when you think about the NFL, it was just 2 weeks ago that the San Francisco 49ers were the best team in NFL football. It wasn't even a question. They had just blown out Dallas 42-10. It could have been worse down at Levi Stadium. And there are no warning signs or reasons to believe that they were anything but the NFL's most complete, most dominant team. And then you have Coach Shanahan, which actually my guest yesterday, Patrice Mwamba, who's as a presidential candidate of the Democratic Republic of Congo, and he was on the team in Denver where Coach Shanahan Sr., he was a coach in Denver. And also Kyle Shanahan was a kind of an assistant there. And so he talked about how the tutelage of coaching has really helped shape a good football organization. And then John Lynch was his teammate also, and now running the helm in San Francisco. So it's amazing, like 6 degrees of separation. How did Big C pull off that? Give us some praise. Because I know a lot of good people, and those people, obviously, they want to do their part in letting things be known. But like the rest of the league, also want to thank my good friend Harry Tasson, who's also owner of Soccer League Development Team, and we appreciate him for his introduction to so many wonderful athletes over the years, from Jalen Brown's father, and Marcellus Brown, and then also Dwayne Wade's father, Dwayne Wade Sr., that were on the program. I'll have them on again later this year as basketball's on the way. But going back to the world of NFL football, I think the 49ers, they're still a great team. But that's a team that was averaging over 30 points a game. And then they went to Cleveland. They had Christian McCaffrey got injured. And then Deebo Samuel got injured. And Trent Williams got injured. So it changed a little bit of the chemistry, but I think Brock Purdy also is coming back down to earth. I still think he's capable of carrying this team, but you realize how valuable Deebo Samuel is for this football program. And I thought they were robbed in Cleveland because of some officiating, but last night they just did not execute. You got to give the Minnesota Vikings some praise because they played to win the game. The football people eaters showed up last night, and the 49ers lost. They were a big favorite in Week 6 at the Cleveland Browns, who also had a backup in P.J. Walker at quarterback. And then in Week 7, they lost again as a big favorite to the Vikings. And this time it was Minnesota at 2-4 coming into the game, and they looked like they were the better team all night long with the 49ers. But Christian McCaffrey had a fumble right around the 10-yard line, and that took 7 points off the board. And then they also missed another field goal. So that took 10 points off the board if you want to look at it that way. But then I want to also give some praise to Kirk Cousins, who's been much maligned. He's had a poor record on Monday nights. He's been mocked for years, having had an excellent game in a huge 22-17 win at Minneapolis. Brock Purdy had 2 chances for a game-winning drive in the fourth quarter, but could not come through either time, throwing a pair of interceptions. And oftentimes he would throw into cover 2. You don't throw the ball when you have 2 defenders around your receiver. You got to check down, which he's been good at doing that. But Vegas loves that because people have the 49ers 7-point favorite, and they ended up losing the game by 5 points. If that makes sense to you. But that's just the way the ball bounces. All's fair in love and war. Had a couple of interceptions and one with 25 seconds left, and the win gets the Vikings to just 3-4 on the season. 3-4. They're 3-4, and the 49ers now fall to 5-2. How'd that happen? All's fair in love and war. The 49ers still one of the NFL's best team, but their back-to-back losses, they were favored, and Vegas knows that. Not that it's all about Vegas and point spreads, but how do you not have such a good... He had 3 great quarters of good football. In the last quarter is when things fell apart. Also, I don't understand why you blitz when you have about 20 seconds left in the first half. And they're blitzing the quarterback. They were blitzing Kirk Cousins, who was able to get the ball downfield to Addison, and he wrestled the ball away. You're supposed to stay behind the receivers and not give up the touchdown. And they gave up 7 points right before the halftime. That was like, it made you scratch your head. But I keep thinking about the point spread. It was a random upset because it should not have happened. You think about Kirk Cousins, whose teams were 2-10 coming into Monday nights, coming on Monday Night Football. But then playing without his star receiver, Justin Jefferson, they were able to carve up the 49ers defense. Doesn't make any sense. And Kirk Cousins has been the subject of a lot of trade speculation, but the Vikings are far from dead at 3-4 in the NFC. They didn't have the best weekend, but Chicago won. They beat the Raiders. And then Detroit got blown out by the Baltimore Ravens. And then to have Green Bay also lost the game to Denver. And for Minnesota to be the team that beat the 49ers, the crowd was amazing. So no one can knock the crowd. The crowd had an effect on that game. But they did a great job in putting the 49ers in check. He threw for 378 yards. He had 2 touchdowns against an excellent defense. And doing so without one of the NFL's best players to throw to. But you got to give him some praise. And that's what I want to give to Kirk Cousins. But the Jordan Addison, when he wrestled the ball away from the 49ers secondary and it put the Vikings up 16-7, a 60-yard touchdown. You're supposed to just stop the receivers from getting behind the defense. It was a bad defensive play. And coordinator Steve Wilkes, he made a little sense of 16 seconds left to go in the first half. And the Vikings are on their own 40-yard line. Why would you have an all-out blitz? That's why I'm saying 800 gambler. You don't blitz with 16 seconds left, and you get your opponent on their 40-yard line. An all-out blitz means your secondary's on their own. I'm keeping it real, guys. It doesn't make any sense. You just don't do that. You just don't do that. Because it's such a thin margin in NFL football. Who calls an all-out blitz when your opponent's on their 40-yard line with 16 seconds left? That's when you rush 3 and drop everybody else. That's why I say 800 gambler. I know people don't look at it that way. But why do you call an all-out blitz with 16 seconds left in the first half? You commit 7 players to get the quarterback. That leaves only 4 players deep to cover 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and a running back coming out of the backfield. It doesn't make any sense. But it's all fair and love and war. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I do want to give the Vikings some praise. Can someone find Robbie Gould? He was a Hall of Fame kicker for the 49ers last year. Why is he not kicking for the 49ers? It might be a contractual issue. But right now, their kickers cost the game at Cleveland. And maybe, just maybe, cost them this game at Minnesota. I'm not going to put it all on him because he did not throw the interceptions. But something's up. All fan level work. Now they come back home and they get Cincinnati. Cincinnati's been resting. So what will the point spread be? If they get Deebo Samuel back, I think they'll be fine. But if you're going to be throwing interceptions where you're throwing in the 3 cover, you got 3 defensive men around 1 receiver. That's not what made Brock Purdy great. Just check down. Check down to your running back. Or at least throw to the receiver that doesn't have 3 defensive backs on him. That doesn't make any sense. But that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I want to flip the page and give a preview tonight. Is the first night of NBA basketball, and everyone has their own thoughts. It's been 133 days since Denver Nuggets, they beat the Miami Heat for their first ever NBA championship. I want to give them some praise. A lot of people didn't see it coming, but they got it done. Their first ever NBA championship. And now it's time to get for another incredible season. I don't think they'll repeat. I just don't. And for some big reason, in the offseason, Damian Lillard is now part of a superstar duo with Giannis. I call him King Giannis Antetokounmpo with the Milwaukee Bucks. Chris Paul joined the Golden State Warriors. And then James Harden, he still wants out of Philadelphia. I don't know why anyone would want to have James Harden on their team. All he does is quit. He quits on his team. It doesn't make any sense. And then somebody's going to beg him to please stay. If the guy wants to quit, let him quit. All's fair in love and war. You're making that kind of money, nearly $40 million a year, you want to quit. If you can't win with Philadelphia and the great Joel Embiid, where do you want to go? He's already tried his act with OKC, and then he's tried his act with Houston, and now he tried his act with Brooklyn, and now he's trying his act with Philadelphia. He always wants to quit. I don't know why someone wants some other team to quit again. Doesn't make any sense, but all's fair in love and war. But you got to see some talented rookies take the center stage down in San Antonio, Texas. They have a sensational, it can be sensational player, and Victor Wembanyama already has stunned people with his unbelievable moves. But don't sleep on Oklahoma City's Chet Holmgren or the Portland Trailblazers, the Scoot Henderson, to make waves also. And when you mention the King, now in his 21st season as a pro, give LeBron James some praise out of Akron St. Vincent St. Mary, and obviously as a member of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and then the Miami Heat, and then back to Cleveland, and then now with the Los Angeles Lakers. And they're still trying to say that it's Anthony Davis' team. It's still LeBron James' team. That's my opinion. I'm sticking with it. He's the all-time NBA scoring leader. That in itself gives him some praise. Passing the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But Kareem only had 1 3-point basket in his entire career. LeBron shoots them all the time. But he wants to make perhaps one final run at the NBA title with the revamped Los Angeles Lakers. And when I'm going to look at all the teams that I think are worth mentioning right now with Big C Sports, I'm going to go, it's just my opinion, because where there's smoke, there's fire. And they were red hot last year in Denver. The Denver Nuggets, last we saw the great Nikola Jokic, the Joker, he put his dancing shoes aside and returned from his summer celebrating in Serbia, along with fellow star Jamal Murray, who's amazing. And the champions are now back. They're healthy. They're ready to make a run at defending their title. I don't think they'll get it done because Mike Malone's starting 5 is still probably among the best and most cohesive units in the league, but it's hard to repeat. Malone wants to see more leadership from Jokic and is challenging Murray to take his postseason gear up to a higher level, averaging 26 points a game, 7 assists, and almost 6 rebounds. He shoots 40% from 3, and to continue this season to become a first-time All-Star and All-NBA performer. You got to give that some praise. Murray comes to play, and when he plays hard for Denver, if that makes sense to you. Now, if you think about Denver, their backcourt of Murray and Michael Porter Jr. entering this season fully healthy after easing their way back last year. The Nuggets also, they will wait until they have a new look after losing key contributors like Bruce Brown and Jeff Green. Veterans Christian Braun and Reggie Jackson are poised for bigger roles. Now, Peyton Watson could be an exciting contributor if he earns Malone's trust, and the Denver Nuggets also like what they saw in Justin Holiday and mature rookies like Julian Strawther and Jalen Pickett and Hunter Tyson. So all's fair in love and war. I'm looking for a good season again out of the Denver Nuggets, especially with the Denver Broncos not giving the fans much to cheer about. And then obviously Colorado Avalanche has had success in the NHL, but the Colorado Rockies haven't been much to write home about. So I like what I see in Denver. They have a player who was up for the 3-time MVP and the Joker, Nikola Jokic. But we'll see what happens as he comes back, maybe even more fit this year than he was last year. But it's all about how the officials call the game, and that's my story. I'm sticking with it. I got to look at another team that I have number 2 in Big C's NBA Power Rankings. Give them some praise for the Milwaukee Bucks. And when I see, after entering last postseason with the best record in the NBA, Milwaukee lost in the final. Actually, they lost in the first round to the Miami Heat in 5 games. It was an upset that shook the organization, and Milwaukee fired coach Mike Budenholzer. They had just won an NBA championship a couple of years ago, and they replaced him with the first-time head coach Adrian Griffin, and then traded for 7-time All-NBA guard Damian Lillard. It's the first time in either Lillard or 2-time MVP King Giannis Antetokounmpo's career that they have played with one another. I'm telling you, they have the makings of a great team in Milwaukee, a small market. They're going to be tough to beat. I mean, they have a lot of things to work out, obviously, getting the chemistry. And the Bucks traded guard Drew Holiday to acquire Damian Lillard. And the move makes them one of the favorites to win the NBA championship. One of the favorites to win the NBA championship. That's what people think. Maybe they get close to the Eastern Conference championship. They have a chance to win the whole thing, though, with Giannis and Damian Lillard. But who's going to have the ball the most? If you say you're the Milwaukee Bucks and you're down 100-99 and you have 5 seconds left, who do you want to have the ball? With Dame or King Giannis? I still got to go with King Giannis because he can get to the paint. He has a 7-foot-tall frame, and he has more, in my opinion, the ability to get to the basket. If it's Dame, he's going to try to put up and shoot a 3. And you know your percentage drops to about 40%. When you shoot threes, if you're in the paint, you're going to make about 80% of your baskets, if that makes sense to you. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. There's another team, and it's just my opinion as Big C Sports, that comes in as number 3 in Big C's NBA. It's just my preview. I want to run to the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns! Yeah, the Phoenix Suns. The Suns won as many games against the Nuggets as the rest of Denver's playoff opponents combined. But after losing Game 5 and Game 6 of their second-round series by combined 41 points, it was clear that Phoenix had a lot of work to do. And they will try to get in the work this year. I think Kevin Durant is still an amazing athlete. And I know that people put a lot of pressure on Durant. Is he the same Kevin Durant before he tore his Achilles when he played with Golden State? Maybe not. But he went to Brooklyn and he was setting the NBA on fire. I think there's so much to think about with this team. Phoenix parted ways with Monty Williams a season after he was named Coach of the Year. I don't think that was a good choice, but they replaced him with Frank Vogel. The Suns traded Chris Paul for Bradley Beal, and then they would get the 2018 number 1 pick DeAndre Ayton to Portland, and they acquired Yusuf Nurkic and some role players to try to make their bench a little bit stronger. Now, Devin Booker, he's the real deal. He's the only remaining member of the Suns' 2021 Finals team. But he and Durant, like Jokic and Murray, can form a great 1-2 punch for the Good Boys over in Arizona. Now, despite all the roster turnover, new coach and a 35-year-old Kevin Durant playing for his 3rd team in the past 5 years, nobody outside of this organization can think that they're not going to be one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the Pacific Division and in the NBA. I'm not picking them to win an NBA championship, but I do think right now, I think they're good enough until we see what happens to put them in the top 3 of the NBA. I really like what they have. I want to go to number 4, and maybe this is because of some sentimental reasons. The Boston Celtics. The Celtics nearly pulled off the first 3-0 comeback in NBA history in the Eastern Conference Finals last season. Instead, they fell flat in Game 7 against the Miami Heat, leaving them once again heartbreakingly close to raising a number 18th banner. As a result, the Boston Celtics make significant changes this summer. Most notably, they swapped Marcus Smart, a longtime leader, for Kristaps Porzingis. I don't know if that's going to work out too well, along with a pair of first-round pick in an off-season 3-team deal with the Memphis Grizzlies and the Washington Wizards. This team in Boston, they have Jason Tatum. They have Jaylen Brown and Drew Holiday. And Porzingis, I'll have to see if he fits in, but Jason Tatum's a star, Jaylen Brown's a star, Drew Holiday's a star. You got to be careful of the Boston Celtics, but when they dropped it to Miami Heat, I thought Miami beat them the year before last also, but I think they got some home cooking. That's just my opinion, and Boston went on to lose the Golden State Warriors in 6 games, but everybody has their own opinion. But I'm going to give Boston another chance. They've been through coaching changes and traded over some decent players in the last couple of years. So we'll see how that works out. Now, I'm gonna swing down south to the West Coast, and I'm gonna stick with the LA Lakers, just because I saw the Lakers shoot 80 more free throws than the Golden State Warriors last year in 6 games. If you shoot 80 more free throws than your opponent, you better win MA Latin Strike. I thought 800 gamblers showed up, and that's my opinion. But at the conclusion of the Lakers training camp ahead of the preseason opener, Anthony Davis could not get, think about this, he has to have the encouragement by what he saw. He's great on paper. Can he stay healthy? Anthony Davis said of LA's offseason involving the core that made it to the Western Conference Finals and adding some extra pieces, that we have a chance to put it on the floor for a couple of days, and it's kind of a reflection of what he looks like on paper. Darvin Ham's second season as coach will coincide with the great King LeBron James, his 21st season, and Ham's biggest challenge will be getting the most out of the 4-time MVP during the regular season while trying to keep James fresh for a postseason run. And the hope is that the talented young trio of Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, Abdellia, and Rui Hachimura, who all got new contracts during the summer, can they help Davis and James rise to the promised land in Los Angeles, where it's always, you expect a championship or not. It's always championship or nothing. They're not just playing for the playoffs in Los Angeles. And oftentimes they're going to get the benefit of the doubt of most calls too. And that's what helps the Lakers stay important, because they're going to get the calls. That's just my opinion. I saw it happen to Golden State. And speaking of Golden State, there's gold in them there hills. The Golden State Warriors, they're just coming 2 years off an NBA championship. The Warriors playoff elimination in the Western Conference semifinals by the LA Lakers that shot 80 more free throws in 4 games. It was the last chapter of their incredibly rocky 2022 and 23 season. 5 months later, they sat behind. Think about this. 5 months later, they say that season is behind them. Or is it really? Because if they're not getting the belt up by the officials, they would have got knocked out by Golden State. That's just my opinion. And then you look at, I like what Golden State did last year, but Curry dropped 50 against the Kings in the first round. And then they got, in my opinion, they got robbed by the NBA. Jordan Poole was a player at the center of attention for Golden State's drama last season. And he was packaged in a deal to Washington for longtime star Chris Paul. There's also a slew of new role players, all moves that at least make the roster look better. Now, Chris Paul, I like his leadership, but he's always injured at the end of the season. And Golden State has an up and down the court kind of basketball team. Chris Paul, he's a walk up the court guard. I don't see him as a guy that's going to go run with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and the way Poole used to. It was like Run DMC back in the day. So Chris Paul is going to slow the game down more for Golden State, but he also helps by not having the ball in Steph Curry's hand all the time. But I don't know if that's an improvement when you get rid of a young player like Poole. But there were obviously some things going on behind the scene that hurt Golden State's chances. What I would love to see with Steph Curry arguably the NBA's best player, and then Klay Thompson, obviously have a little hips in his giddy up, not the same three-point shooter that he used to be, but maybe he'll find his way this year. And then you have Andrew Wiggins. I want to give this team some praise because they have some sharpshooters for Golden State, and if you give them a chance, they can shoot the lights out against anyone. And I would like to see this Golden State team in person again, the way I saw them with the Sacramento Kings last year. But I think Chris Paul's going to slow them down some. And then Draymond Green, how much more can we get out of Draymond Green? He's the engine for the Golden State Warriors. I think you need Draymond Green. And then Kevon Looney, he's a great rebounder. But I'm telling you, this is a team, because they can shoot the three, they have a chance to compete with anyone. But they got rid of Poole, and they have Chris Paul, who's not as good a three-point shooter as Jordan Poole. But at the same time, the ball doesn't have to be in Steph Curry's hands all the time. I'm telling you, this is a team that they can score on anyone. Can they play the defense? I think they can. But they need a big man that may, well, I saw what Anthony Davis did last year with the Lakers. You got a big man, and Golden State doesn't have anyone to match him. Looney's a good rebounder, but can he go mano a mano against Davis and also the Jokers of the Western Conference? I don't really see that, but they have a shooter's chance and that's all you ask for in this league. They say it's a make and miss league. I would love to see, with all these great NBA players, and so many of them have made multiple million-dollar contracts, I would like to see them take a graduation course and not just have on the basketball court end racism. Because we know it's America's biggest sin is called slavery. America's biggest sin was slavery. And I would like to have them be more bold and talk about reparations. If we can't have our most well-known, athletic, powerful, forceful, wealthy men, black men, champion reparations, then what do we do as a people? If we can't have our biggest and strongest, athletic, most financially well-off men champion reparations for descendants of child slavery, which are their parents, grandparents, and great-great-grandparents, if they can't do it, then we got to go to people that don't have their money, that don't have their influence, that don't have their access to media. Black Americans are 80% of the NBA. If you can't come together and talk about what President Abraham Lincoln talked about, which is reparations, and also what Georgetown has already pledged over $1 billion for reparations, if you can't get behind the California Reparations Task Force and talking about reparations, then what good are you as a man? You're 80% of the league. 80%. You're not 20% of the league. You're 80% of the league. And if black men can do what other cultures have done, which is talk about the legacy where we come from. If you know where you come from, maybe you respect your root a little better. And we know that the United Nations is talking about reparations for descendants of child slavery. Yes, that means our rich and famous NBA athletes and our rich and famous actors and actresses around the country. It's important that we take our most powerful, most well-known, and most influential people of African descent and have them at least, if you're too afraid to talk about reparations, at least please support the people that do. That's Big C Sports. Give me some praise. I'm not doing some other shit. I'm going to do this one term as a black man. And if I'm going to say what President Abraham Lincoln said, reparations now, reparations forever, I would love to find just a few more black men to do it. And show that we're not afraid. If it at least champion what President Abraham Lincoln championed for our people. I want to go to the city of New York, the New York Knicks. The Knicks arguably had the most successful season in this century in 2022-2023. They not only reached the second round of the NBA playoffs for the second time in 20 plus years in the country's biggest city. They should be championing reparations now, reparations forever. This is out of New York City, where Big C Sports comes out of, if that makes sense to you. And when you think about the signing of R.J. Barrett to an extension, that most importantly, landing Jalen Brunson on a 4-year deal that instantly became one of the NBA's best contracts. After signing Brunson from a former Illinois teammate and free agent, Dante DiVincenzo, to an extension, Josh Hart this summer, the question for the New York Knicks would be how much success can they have from last year? If you're in New York City and Spike Lee, he's that game, they all want a lot of success. And they believe they're going to get it. They believe they're going to get it. And in New York, you need to have the Knicks winning. I know Brooklyn was a kind of a hot place to be a couple of years, but Durant's out, Harden's out, and Irving's out, so it's no longer Brooklyn. But the Knicks should be back in the saddle, and I hope they have the heart to talk about reparations. It takes a sea change. You got Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, R.J. Barrett, Josh Hart. Those good old boys, they can do more than just score baskets. I hope they champion the cause of reparations. If they can't do it on their own, at least champion Big C Sports and give that some praise. And that to me is important. Jaylen Brown for the Boston Celtics, when he signed his new contract, they were asking him what he wants to do. He said he wants to bring the Black Wall Street to Boston. Give that some praise. Got to get more players saying that. He's a very smart player. Jaylen Brown, I talked to his father on Marcellus Brown on Big C Sports Podcast. We talked about reparations now and reparations forever. They can do it on Big C Sports Podcast. Why not ESPN? At least have the conversation. There are a lot of beautiful, intelligent black men that are in black women that you owe something to your ancestry. And our white brethren too, because they were also white abolitionists. We're no different than our descendants of Jewish Holocaust. We got to make sure that we pay homage to our ancestry. And reparations are just as important as you're signing your new big contract. Don't be ashamed to ask for what was given to us. That's reparations now, reparations forever. Just have a little heart and do the right thing for our ancestors. So the Knicks, they're well positioned financially with no player earning more than $28 million and 11 first-round picks at their disposal. They have a chance to make some noise on the East Coast. I think they will again this year. It's important. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. Also on the East Coast, I got the Philadelphia 76ers with 6 minutes to go in the Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals against Boston. Philadelphia might have been the favorite to win the East. If not the title, then in typical Philadelphia fashion, everything fell apart. Why did it fall apart in Philadelphia? A lot of chaos happened. The great Doc Rivers was fired, replaced by Nick Nurse. It doesn't make any sense. Why? And now you have James Harden again requesting a trade from the 76ers. I don't think it's going to be coming anytime soon. This team is led by reigning NBA MVP, the great Joel Embiid. It is good enough to contend for a title. They are good enough. But only time will tell if this group will stick together long enough to see if they can do it or not. You got the great Joel Embiid. You got Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, and Tobias Harris. They're a great basketball team in Philadelphia. There's a lot on the line for this great franchise. And I think they're going to get over. I'm not going to say they're going to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. But they're a very good team. It's just a matter of time before it all strikes gold, if that makes sense to you. I want to bring in number 9. It's just my opinion, and I'm sticking with it. What did LeBron say? He said, Cleveland, this is for you. Well, the Cleveland Cavaliers, Cleveland Browns, they're making sports relevant in Cleveland after securing this franchise's first 50-win season without King LeBron James since 1992-1993, entering the playoffs as the number 4 seeds. Cleveland, they were quickly dismissed by the Knicks in 5 games, and Big C predicted 6 games, but they did it in 5 games. And then New York outscored Cleveland by 40 points over his final 3 wins to advance. The great Donovan Mitchell, after averaging career highs in points per game at 28 points per game and field goal percentage at 48%. And with his first regular season with the Cavaliers, they took a step back when it mattered most, averaging just 23 points on 43% shooting in the playoffs and only shot 29% from 3 against the New York Knicks. That's not going to help you. But they got their roster a little bit better by Max Strauss and Georges Niang. And I know they got to keep pressure on Philadelphia. They got to keep pressure on Boston. And they got to keep pressure on Milwaukee. Because with Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and Jarrett Allen, that's a team that can push Cleveland into a position where they're the top 2 or 3 team, or top 2 or 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. That's just my opinion, and I'm sticking with it. Now, I got a few more teams to talk about, because how do you get past the Miami Heat? If you can't stand the Heat, get out of the kitchen. But the Miami Heat right now, I have the number 10. If Miami's run to the NBA Finals, as a number 8 seed, they fell short as it lost to the Denver Nuggets in 5 games. In an attempt to strengthen the squad heading into the new season, the Heat made a run at a trade for the dollar Damian Lillard in Miami would have been amazing, but that was not successful, and Portland dealt him to Milwaukee instead. The Miami Heat also lost key players from last season with Gabe Vincent and heading into the Lakers and Max Strauss going to Cleveland without replacing either player with Lillard. And the Heat will have to rely on the return of Tyler Hero, who played in only 1 game in the playoffs because he had a broken wrist. So they're going to have to get better. And then you got to think about, in my opinion, you got Jimmy Butler. He's the glue that holds that team together in Miami. And he stays healthy, they have a chance to compete again with the East. They were number 8 seed last year. They got to the finals. With Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, they have a team that can challenge anybody. They showed it last year against Boston. Boston was favored to win the East last year. Milwaukee might be favored to win the East this year. But how do you knock out Miami when they have such resilience and such fighter power? They keep coming at you. And I don't want to look too far down the road for the Miami Heat, because they're, in my opinion, they're a team to watch. And no matter what seed they are, because when they get hot, they get hot. But that's my opinion, and people might say, oh, Curry, you're out of your mind. They're not going to get back to the Eastern Conference Finals. But people said that last year. Now, I want to say, in my opinion, I got them hovering right around number 12. Number 12, give me a drum roll, please. got light the beam, light the beam, light the beam. I want them to light the beam for reparations. I met Ron Abize, the owner of the Sacramento Kings, and I think one of his best decisions was hiring Mike Brown. When they talk about light the beam for the Kings, they broke their 16-year playoff drought, and despite losing in the first round, Golden State took 7 games, and Curry dropped 50 to get them done at the Golden One Center. And so they pushed the defending champion Warriors to 7 games. Mike Brown was named NBA Coach of the Year. Monty McNair earned League Executive of the Year honors. And the Kings did not make any flashy moves over the summer, but don't blame them. The ones they did make are enough to keep them in the top portion of the highly competitive Western Conference. They have the best crowd in the NBA when they chant, light the beam, reparations, light the beam, reparations, light the beam, reparations. Hopefully they'll light the beam for reparations this year. But they signed DeMar Sabonis to a $217 million 5-year extension, also extending Harrison Barnes to a 3-year, $54 million deal. What I think helped them a lot is they added JaVale McGee. JaVale McGee obviously gave them some size inside, and they signed EuroLeague MVP Sasha Benzinskov. I think it's going to help them with their three-point shooting. They're a great three-point shooting team, and they can get up and down the court. They feel confident that the young group they have, with another year under their belt, they're ready to see how they can follow up their breakout season. And they have the great De'Aaron Fox. I have the Kings winning 50 games this year. I said they win between 45 and 50 last year. They're going to win 50 this year, and many pundits have them winning about 40 games last year. I think when you have De'Aaron Fox, DeMar Sabonis, Harrison Barnes, and JaVale McGee to give them that big presence inside. Also, Sasha Benzinskov, I think he's a great three-point shooter as well. And Mike Brown, he focuses on defense. But this team, they led the league in scoring last year. If their defense gets a little bit better, you can't tell me that this team is not going to win 50 games this year. I'm not saying they're going to win the West because they don't have the media power that you have down in Los Angeles or over in the Bay Area. And even down in Phoenix, it's going to be really tough on a lot of teams this year. And the last, so I'm going to say, light the beam, reparations, light the beam, reparations. The last team that I'll bring up that we want to give some attention to, but we do it every year. And I don't know if they deserve it all the time, but in my opinion, I got to go with the LA Clippers. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, they never stay healthy. Steve Ballmer has more money than he needs. He needs to get some of that money to Big C Sports. Give that some praise. I just spent $6 billion. But entering year 5 of the Kawhi Leonard and Paul George era, the Clippers they're the must-win now. Like, win it now. I don't know if they can because they don't stay healthy. But they do have must-see basketball. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you, I want to help the NBA. I want to help them join Big C Sports this year. And what I mean by saying join Big C Sports and give that some praise, it's not just about playing sports. It's about doing what the United Nations is about. And working as a chair of the National Black Wall Street Project, I want to do my part to work with senators and congressmen and even President Biden and California Governor Gavin Newsom in championing reparations. Just like the Ukraine got $100 billion, money's going out to every country, it seems, that asked for it, except for the people that helped build this country. I want to give that some praise for all the people in the NBA for championing reparations for the descendants of chattel slavery and not turning our back because the time is now. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As I always tell you, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink, because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber, you can call Lyft, you can walk it off, you can sleep it off, but don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of a car after they've been drinking. The life you save might be your own or someone that you love. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, you know what time it is. As I always tell you, on every Big C Sports show, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, rumble, young man, rumble, as the late Drew Bermuda Brown would say, but all you got to use, how can you lose? I'll even say I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat, because thinking about listening to Big C Sports makes me want to vote for reparations now and reparations forever. And that's Ali champion reparations, even in spirit. My beautiful mother always says there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, pick up the phone and call 911 because things change when the police show up. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that crap on their own. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you, on every Big C Sports Show, I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super, fantastic day. As I always tell you, reparations now, reparations forever. And I want to say one more thing as I do, and I want to make sure that it's well known around the world. I'm the only sports show in the universe that champions what President Abraham Lincoln said, America's 16th president. And I want you to do it with me. Just like they say, light the beam, light the beam. I want you to say reparations now, reparations forever. Say it as we are trying to win the game. Reparations now, reparations forever. Let's say it like your team just won the championship as we take this year to honor President Abraham Lincoln when he said reparations now, reparations forever. I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day.